Hi guys, Eric James here with Foreign Option, and welcome to this video where we're talking about planning your first ever trip to Cebu, Philippines, and all the things that I really wish I knew before I arrived for the first time. And make sure to stick around to the end because we're going to talk about the #1 subject why most men want to travel out to Cebu, Philippines, and that's the dating. In this section, we're going to cover setting your travel goals and knowing your purpose for your travel. That'll decide what kind of trip you end up having. I'll talk about the best time to visit, whether you should stay 1 month minimum, how to get money in the Philippines, whether it be ATMs or currency exchanges. I'll talk about packing essentials, things you need to have in your bag, and how to get laundry done in the Philippines. We'll talk about having data on your phone so that you can walk around freely and use your phone and the internet. I'll talk about hobbies and sports in the Philippines. They love sports there, and it's a good opportunity to explore some hobbies for the cheap. It costs a lot less in the Philippines for some of those. We'll talk about all your transportation options in the Philippines and the importance of having an onward ticket before you pass through immigration. Setting your travel goals. There's a few important questions that you want to ask yourself before you go. Do you want to see other countries while you're out in Asia? Well, this presents a wonderful opportunity to do that because Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, they're all really close. And if you're near Manila or Cebu, there's direct flights going to those countries. I usually bundle some of my trips out to Asia. For example, I'll go to the Philippines and then I'll pop over to Thailand, and then I've been to Vietnam as well. And are you just coming to date and find a girlfriend? Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to do that, I recommend staying in the city and getting online, obviously. Or do you want to take some time to explore and visit different islands? We talked about there's over 7,000 islands in the Philippines. In that case, I wouldn't bring too much stuff, and I recommend traveling lighter because you're going to be bouncing around a lot. And one of the mistakes I made in my earlier travel ventures is I would pack this huge suitcase with all this stuff. And then it made bouncing around and going to different islands very kind of painful, whether that was just psychological or actually physical. But it was just really annoying. And choosing the right time to visit. So there's this season called dry season in the Philippines, which is January to April. Now for me, I found it completely unnoticeable, except I noticed that it gets a little bit hotter during certain times of the year. But this dry season versus wet season, I've been there every month of the year. I never really noticed a significant amount of more rain during any season. But there's this big festival called Sinulog in Cebu. It's this huge festival, and it's the 3rd week of January every year. And I typically like to avoid it. Most of the foreigners like to avoid it. It's a very local festival, but it is enormously big, and you cannot even move around the city. The crowds are so huge, and there's noise all throughout the night, all throughout the day. But Christmas time is probably my favorite time in the Philippines because they do Christmas so well. And this is pretty funny. Any month that starts with Burr is Christmas time. So starting in September, just after August, they start putting up Christmas trees and start playing Christmas music. And that lasts all the way into January. My favorite time to go, I like to go around October, November, December. Because they just do Christmas so well. The malls will have all these beautiful Christmas lights, and everybody goes out there, relaxes and watches the Christmas lights and the Christmas music, and that's my favorite time to go. Now, this is one of my biggest recommendations is to try to stay 1 month minimum. And there's a lot of important reasons why I think 1 month minimum is a good recommendation. Now, especially if you're coming from North America, I recommend staying 1 month minimum. If you're coming from Australia, New Zealand, or Japan, you're already kind of out in that area, I could see you doing less than that. But the biggest reason is the jet lag is just brutal if you're coming from North America. I mean, it's usually a 12-hour time difference in the Philippines, so you'll be wide awake during the middle of the night. And then during the day, the sunlight hours, you'll be dead dog tired. And that typically lasts about a week for me before I'm converted and I've shaken it off. The second reason is you'll probably catch the bug in the Philippines. And I've been traveling around the world a while, and a lot of times I catch whatever the local bug is in each country. In the Philippines, it's pretty unavoidable for
first timers. And it usually just lasts a couple of days. And what I mean unavoidable, there's something in the water or something, and you'll mess up and you'll drink something with ice in it that, came from tap water, or you'll eat a salad that, was washed with tap water, and you'll catch this bug and, kind of get some, maybe your stomach feels a little queasy. You might have some diarrhea, and you'll just kind of not feel like going out. And this usually lasts a couple days. You want to take some time to settle and explore a little bit. You're in the Philippines. Man, it's just such a beautiful country with so many islands. So 1 month, you've arrived, your first week, you're jet lagged. Then you catch this little bug. And now you're into your second week and you're thinking, God, I want to take some time to explore a little bit. You're trying to go out and set up some dates. You're going to play the field a little bit. That takes a little time to set up. And I've stayed less than 1 month and it's hard. So, everything we just talked about, by the time I got to my third week, I felt like I was finally settling in, and then all of a sudden you're leaving. So you want to give yourself a little bit of time to let these things develop.
And let's face it, the reason why there aren't a ton of more guys out here traveling, living, dating internationally is because of the finances. That's why I put together a free guide for you guys, 7 financial paths to traveling the world and living overseas. You can download it for free. Link in the description.
And getting money in the Philippines, for me, is quite easy. Now remember, it's a very cash culture. So some of your restaurants and stores, actually most of them in the malls, will accept credit cards. But you always need cash. You need cash for the transportation systems, and they use the Philippine peso. I usually get all of my cash from the ATMs. It's my preferred method. If you can set up a Schwab banking account, Schwab checking account, that's by far the best international travel account that I've ever had. And it gives me free ATM fee reimbursement, meaning that little $5 charge you get at the end of the month, they reimburse all of those back into my account. And they also have 0 foreign transaction fees, which, if you're using a card that's not set up right, every time you swipe it, they'll add, maybe a 10% international charge on there. And also when I get the money out, I get it at the international accepted exchange rate, which is usually the best one. Another option that a lot of guys do is they bring, American dollars or whatever your currency is and go to the currency exchanges, which are located in many places. They're not hard to find, especially on the streets. There's some, but usually the malls are the best place to go for that. And you can shop around for the best rates if you want to do that. Airport is the most convenient, but it also has the worst conversion rate. So a lot of times when I arrive, I'll maybe exchange a little bit of money at the airport just to have enough to get to my hotel. Now, how much money to bring? How much money do you need to hang out in the Philippines? I recommend between $3,000 and $4,000 a month. And that's for somebody that's arriving and you're kind of a busy tourist, you're kind of on vacation mode. And the reason why that might sound kind of high, I don't know. The Philippines, right, is a cheap country, but you're going to be going on multiple dates, playing the field, taking your girlfriend out for dinners. Hotels will rack up your bill, and then you want to take some time to explore, right? Take some weekend trips. But a lot of guys that are on a budget or staying there long term can stay much cheaper. And the reason is they're not paying those expensive hotels. They are signing leases and staying in a place for 6 months. You get a really cheap rate. And then they're doing cooking at home. They're not eating out all the time. And that used to be cheaper. It used to be about for $1,500 you could stay there long term. But it's slowly going up a little bit. And the cool thing about the conversion rate, it's easy math to the US dollar. So 50 pesos equals $1 US, 100 pesos is $2 US, 5,000 pesos is $100 US. So it's about 50 to 1. Now, usually it's a little bit higher in your favor, but that's just easy math for your head as you're going around. Recommend packing essentials. So Philippines can rain quite unexpectedly. It could be sunny, and then within 20 minutes, it's downpouring rain. So I usually keep a raincoat or a small umbrella with me. I've migrated to the small umbrella because it usually fits pretty compact into my bag. Recommend getting a man purse, which is like an overstrap bag. Fanny pack will work as well. And the reason why this will limit the possible pickpockets to you, because these things go over your shoulder and you can kind of put your hands over it and when you're inside the buses and transportation systems. So you're not going to get pickpocketed with one of those if you keep your hands on it and it's in front of your body. But what can happen is there are opportunistic thieves. So if you leave your bag sitting somewhere, walk away for a couple of minutes, there's a good chance it'll be gone when you get back. But there's not too much violent crime, meaning like mugging it off of you. But there are pickpockets and there are what they call snatchers. So no one can snatch your overstrap bag because it's gone over your shoulder and over your neck. If you're just holding your wallet in your hand, somebody could run by and grab it and run faster than you can. I recommend bringing some dry fit clothing, some moisture wicking clothing, as opposed to just pure cotton, because it can be hot and you'll be sweating a lot. And those clothing kind of evaporates off your body quicker. And cargo shorts. Cargo shorts are, a lot of guys wear cargo shorts. It's kind of an alternative to the man purse or the fanny pack because they have these side pockets that you can button up and then you can put your valuable wallet and phone in the side pockets. Those come in really handy. And bug spray and sunblock. There's mosquitoes in the Philippines, and it's near the equator, so the sun can be very strong. However, keep in mind not to overpack, because anything that you need can be bought in the Philippines. And this was a fear of mine before I first went out there. I overpacked because, I had backup toothbrushes and sunblock and bug spray and kind of everything that I needed to survive in the Philippines. But then when I got there, I realized that, yes, there's stores there in the malls. They have 7-Elevens where you can pretty much get anything you need. There's pharmacies, they have hospitals. And remember, the lighter you travel, the more that you can explore, because you're not hauling this big suitcase around. And I've started to travel just with a backpack and a small carry-on, because I realize that anything I need, I can buy it when I get there. And if you pack heavy, it'll feel like a burden to you. SIM cards and laundry. You guys probably know what a SIM card is, but it's a little chip that you slide into your phone so that you have data. Usually comes with a phone number. I recommend, if your phone can support 2 of them, to get one at the airport. So just right when you arrive, immediately you've got one in your phone. Therefore, you've got data and you've got internet in the Philippines. Also, they sell them at every mall. And compared to a lot of other countries, the Philippines is just very quick and easy at doing these SIM cards and data. Usually within a couple minutes, I'm ready to go. I've been to other countries where, it took like a full day or a couple days just to get data on my phone. I have to register with the government and, they scan my passport and all that. But no, the Philippines is really quick and easy on that. And you'll probably need to get your laundry done. A lot of times your hotel will have that service for you. A lot of times your condo won't have a laundry machine in it if you're doing like an Airbnb or something like that. But no worries, there's laundry services everywhere and it's super cheap. I usually put my clothes in like a plastic bag and I drop it off. And then later that afternoon, it's ready only for a couple of dollars. So don't even worry about that. It's very easy. The Philippines presents a tremendous opportunity to explore some hobbies that maybe you've neglected, or there's something that you've been just dying to get into, but maybe it's kind of expensive in your home country. But you need to know that basketball is their favorite sport by far. They just love the NBA. And I'll never forget, I've watched some basketball games in the Philippines, and you see this little guy who's maybe like 5'5", and with just mad skills, man. And he jumps and he runs, he drives the lane, he jumps up, he spins around, tosses it in. I mean, they are so talented at basketball. But they also have a very vibrant tennis community, which is my preferred sport of choice. And they have a huge tennis community. They love to play tennis, and you can also get very cheap tennis lessons. Also, I always wanted to do scuba diving, but I looked into it in the United States and saw that I was like, gosh, it's like $500 or $1,000, something like that, to get certified and get all the courses. But I got certified in the Philippines, and it wasn't just any certification. Be careful on this one, because they have like some certifications there that are only valid for the Philippines. But I got that with the PADI certification, which allows me to, it's internationally recognized, allows me to dive anywhere in the world. I got my beginner certification and my advanced certification in the Philippines, and they have some of the best scuba diving in the world, obviously with all those different islands, and they have a lot of unique fish and cool coral to look at. And I've always wanted to learn how to play the guitar, and I still haven't taken this up, but I've seen advertisements for very cheap guitar lessons in the Philippines. Like I said earlier, they have a lot of very talented musicians, so that would be a great opportunity to learn a musical instrument. Transportation options, you've got a lot to pick for, except remember there's like no Uber in the Philippines, or it's really not widely used at all. The most popular, especially for foreigners, is probably taxis. In Cebu, the way to get a taxi is you wave it down with your hand. This means come here, and you just hold your hand up on the side of the road. Some of them will pass by you. That's because they have somebody already in the car. But if he's free, he will definitely pull over and pick you up. Always ask for the meter. Don't negotiate. If you start trying to negotiate, a lot of times I just get out of the car. It's rare that they negotiate, especially the white taxis. But remember, how long have you been here? If you say, oh, I just arrived today, he's probably going to start trying to negotiate with you. No. I just want the meter. Motorbike taxis are a very common means of transportation in the Philippines. It's the fastest option, but it's also the most dangerous, right? Be careful, you're on a motorbike. And what this entails is you getting on the back of a driver, he drives, and you kind of hold on to the bike as he goes. I only typically use them when I have to, when I can't get a taxi. And one of the things that will happen is when it rains in the Philippines, everybody starts using the car taxis, right? Because it's raining. Nobody wants to be on a motorbike. So then sometimes I have to end up taking the motorbike taxi in the rain. There's an app called Anchus, which is kind of like Uber, but it's strictly for motorbikes. And those typically have the best drivers, the safest ones, because they know that they're going to get a rating on how they did. I recommend, if you want to use motorbike taxis, to get that app. And they don't negotiate. It sets the price for you based off of where you're going. Jeepneys, we've talked about that. It's probably the cheapest option. It's also the slowest. You're going to get caught up in the traffic, but they're fun. And tuk-tuks are another option. Typically, you see these more in the provinces and not in the big cities. And tuk-tuks are essentially kind of like a motorbike, but it's been rigged to have like a side cart that can fit like 4 or 5 people. And they're really slow, but they're fun to use. And they're also very cheap, and will have to negotiate with those. Grab is a very popular app in the Philippines. It's kind of like Uber delivery or DoorDash or something like that. And it's very cheap, but you can pretty much order from any restaurant or fast food, and they will deliver the food to your door for a very cheap charge. It's usually like maybe $1 or $2. Recommended documents. So there's so many countries that have their own different immigration rules, especially for getting into the Philippines. And sometimes these requirements change at different times. So I'm just going to recommend getting a throwaway ticket as opposed to booking a departure flight before you enter the Philippines. And what I mean is, when you enter the Philippines, one of the requirements is they want to see that you're booking a departure flight out of the Philippines within 30 days of arrival. And I'm talking about people entering as a tourist. I have stopped booking that big departure ticket out of the Philippines, and I've started to book what is called a throwaway ticket from onwardticket.com, and this will only cost maybe about $15. And it is actually a real valid ticket, but it expires after a couple of days if you don't pay the full amount. I'll just let that thing expire and I'll throw it away. But I usually buy this within 48 hours of my arrival into the Philippines, and I show it to them. It's a real valid ticket, and they say, okay, you can enter because you've got a return ticket out. The reason is you may want to extend your time in the Philippines. You may not know exactly when you're going to be leaving the Philippines. So later on, I will buy my real return ticket out of the Philippines. This essentially buys you a lot of flexibility with your travel for only about $15.
Okay, let's get to the real reason. I know a lot of you guys are here. The number one subject or reason why most single men want to travel out to the Philippines, and that's for the dating. Now, one of the funny jokes there between a lot of the guys is like, why are you here? Oh, I'm here for the food. And everybody laughs because guys realize that you're not really there for the food. They're there for better dating prospects. And in my experience, it's always been a positive thing. The men that I've hung out with, the Western men, generally have very positive experiences dating there, finding a girlfriend or finding a wife, and it really changed my life. I took my first trip out to Cebu in 2019, and I was in a deep place of struggle. back in the United States, especially from a relationship standpoint. I felt quite invisible to American women, had not much success online dating with, Tinder, and was basically depressed. And I went out to the Philippines and I met a woman, just an awesome woman, most beautiful woman I had ever dated. And I finally felt like a catch again, and it really just boosted my confidence. Have since been back to the Philippines quite a few times, but if you're a single guy and you're going to the Philippines, Cebu, and interested in dating, what I suggest is, about a week or two before you arrive, to get online on a website called FilipinoCupid. I'll put a link to it in the description, but that's by far my favorite website for online dating in the Philippines. If you get on there about a week or two in advance, you can start to build, play the field a little bit and build some leads, so that by the time that you arrive in the country, you may already have a few dates lined up. And with one of my girlfriend, I took a few trips around the island. A lot of times they know, the island quite well, and kind of be a little bit of a tour guide for you. So just really had some awesome experiences going down to like Moao Boao or Cobblestone Falls and doing some fun things with your girlfriend. But I wouldn't line those up until you actually meet, a woman in person, because it's one thing you do need to watch out for in the Philippines, whether you're online dating or dating women in person, are the scams. And I have never fallen for a scam there, but I'm also not very gullible. I think I've got a little bit of street smart, especially within the dating market. But you do hear some horror stories, and I think it's usually from guys that are either very gullible, or they never met a woman in person, they're sending them money, or they end up in these age gap relationships that are just too big. If you're dating a woman that's 50 years younger than you and you're gullible and you start to think that, you're in this deep love connection and she's needing a lot of money from you, that's how a lot of guys have, lost their entire retirements, whether it be in Southeast Asia or even South America. And I caution guys to not try to lead with your wallet in these relationships, especially at the beginning. Maybe a little bit, of course, be a gentleman and be generous and pay for dates and whatnot. But if you start off just throwing money around all over the place, that becomes the precedent of the relationship, especially at the beginning. If you do that at the beginning, it's hard to lower that, Mr. Big Spender later on in the relationship. So if anything, start smaller and become a little bit more generous in the form of, trips or gifts for your girlfriend later on. But make sure to qualify her well and make sure that, she's got a good inner core, beautiful on both the outside. We need beautiful on the outside, but also beautiful on the inside. It's pretty much how I've had a good experience when dating. And of course, one of the huge pros of, if you're seeking to find a girlfriend in the Philippines, is that they are usually very fluent in English. And that's just something that you don't get when you're traveling to other Southeast Asian countries like, Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, or Thailand, or even my experience when I was down in Colombia and Brazil. Not many women speak English, but, in the Philippines has a strong historical tie to America and other English-speaking countries, and including, make sure to check out one of my other videos where I show General MacArthur statue. Monument Park down in Leyte, Philippines, was really a cool trip. But it's just a symbol of the strong historical ties and ally between the Philippines and America.
Let's review what we covered in this section for planning your trip. Set your travel goals and know your purpose in the Philippines. If you just want to date, I recommend staying in the city. If you really want to take some time to go around and explore, or maybe bring a girl with you, I'd pack lighter and only book my hotels for a shorter amount of times. Keep your schedule more flexible. The best time to visit, in my opinion, is anytime. All the seasons kind of feel the same to me, except sometimes it feels a little bit hotter. I recommend trying to stay 1 month. That'll give you time to get over the bug that you'll probably catch, get over the jet lag, and then you can play the field a little bit. Getting money in the Philippines is very easy. You can use ATMs, or if you bring cash, you can use currency exchanges. Packing essentials, just keep in mind that anything that you need can be bought in the Philippines, and getting your laundry done is super simple and easy. You're going to need internet on your phone, get data on your phone, so get a SIM card. You can get it at the airport or in the malls. There's a lot of hobbies and sports in the Philippines. Presents a great opportunity to get cheap lessons and explore whatever hobby you've been neglecting. Transportation options are numerous. Definitely recommend using the white taxis. And remember, when you're passing through immigration into the Philippines, recommend getting an onward ticket. It's a throwaway ticket that proves that you are actually leaving the country, although that will buy you some more flexibility.
By the way, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao.